from this to this. In this video, we're going to be going over a 3/4 acre pond that we're going to be building for a young couple known as the Whimleys right here in Leavenworth, Kansas. This property doesn't take long to take a quick look at it and realize it's super overgrown. There's dead trees down everywhere. There's live trees sitting in there crooked. There's like saplings everywhere. You almost can't even walk through it. More than half of their land as it sits before anything is done is completely unusable. And to top that off, running straight through the middle is a wet weather creek. Now, wet weather creeks, they only flow whenever it rains. But because of the location here, we've got neighborhoods upstream and roads, all that flows into that creek. So there is a lot of water that runs through this property. A big part of this project is being able to reclaim, or actually just claim, that back half of their property and increase the value of the property as a whole. So the Whimleys had a couple things that were important to them. And there's two main things here. The first thing is they really want a pond that they can fish in, that they can actually use as, a utilitarian, recreational type of pond that's going to boast a tremendous amount of entertainment for them, a lot of satisfaction from just being able to go into their backyard and go fishing. Now, the vision for this property is to turn it into a park. And the way we're going to do that is creating that pond to make it the main centerpiece of this back property, that main piece that's going to draw your eye whenever you go out on that back patio. And then after that is the trees. Now, there's a big emphasis on the trees and the landscape surrounding this pond. So clearing out the underbrush under them, taking out all those weeds, all those dead, nasty trees out of there, and elevating up those trees to create that park-like open meadow atmosphere. Before ground is ever broken on a pond project, and with this property specifically, it was very important to come in and do a couple key steps in preparation of building the pond. And that's really planning out this pond and doing a thorough process of that. What that essentially means is there's two main steps we're going to do on site before anything happens. That's an aerial LiDAR survey and soil samples. Now, that aerial LiDAR survey is done by a drone. It'll fly up, do its little dance in the sky, and it'll give us a perfect topographical map of what the land looks like without any trees, without any shrubs on it. So we can see what the bare earth looks like. And the reason that's important is it allows us to design a pond that's going to best fit the features of that land. After that is the soil samples. And what's so important about that is understanding what is in the ground. Hey, at 3 feet down underground, are we going to find rock? You don't really know unless you do those soil samples. And we'll do those throughout the property to figure out a good story of what kind of soil layers do we have? Where can this pond best fit? So through the soil samples, we found something really interesting, and it really makes us glad we did this. Looking at the property, you would never suspect we'd find anything weird, especially for this area. This area is known for just great clay and perfect pond building conditions. But with this specific spot being next to that creek, what we found is there is quite a bit of topsoil. There's almost 3 feet of topsoil in that area. Below that, we have about 5 feet of just perfect clay, exactly what you would want for building a pond. But if you go just a little bit lower, right at that 8-foot range, you start to run into very sandy clay. Sandy clay that's starting to have water come out of the ground, and that is indicating, hey, we are near the water table. We're going to start causing leaks if we go into that. So finding sand and rock underground, it's not the end of the world for a pond. There's always ways of adjusting a plan and finding a way to make a pond work, but understanding where those layers are at is the only way that you're able to actually do that. There's plenty of options. Let's say if this was pure rock or pure sand under there, such as lining or bentonite. We go into that in much more depth in other videos, but for this specific project, we were just going to adjust that plan a tiny bit, adjust some depths, and then we're on our way to building a nice pond. The Throughout this construction phase, there were quite a few steps involved in actually making this pond come to life. The first of that being the tree clearing. So getting all of the trees, all of the brush, all of the nasty stuff in the way of the earth out of the site. And what we did with all that is we removed it out of the ground, just plucked all those trees out of the ground with a big excavator, harvested the logs, and put the tree piles of all the limbs in a pile out of sight, out of mind in the back of the property. There was really a treat that we found during the clearing process of this project, and that was an old railroad tie, telephone pole, bridge contraption that was made for crossing that creek who knows how long ago. So with this pond, whenever it's full, we were able to set the water level where it just flows underneath that bridge, just sits a foot or two above the water level. And it creates a really, truly just unique aspect to this pond that ties, Old Town Leavenworth in with this new style house. After that, we moved on to the earthwork. And what that really consisted of is, first of all, stripping all the topsoil off the site. Once all that topsoil was pulled off the area we're going to be moving all of our earth, we went through and started shaping our pond dam. Now that pond dam had what's called a core in it, and that was really the first step in the dam, is excavating the core trench, filling that with clay, and building our dam up from there. And what's really important about doing that is the part of the pond that's sealed. So it's really important that really careful consideration is put toward the compaction and material used with that pond dam. After that, we started really shaping the pond and bringing that topsoil back in to cover everything up. And that is really when the pond took shape. We went through, installed our overflow system, did all the final grading, so that way this project is ready for grass seed. There's a ton of details in pond construction. So many we could not possibly cover in this video. There's plenty of other videos on our channel that goes over all those juicy details and why those details are so important. But just briefly, pulling the topsoil off, building our dam, putting in our overflow system, putting the topsoil back. As we near the end of the project, what's super interesting is we were able to harvest some of the tree stumps off of the trees and off of the clearing and put those in the pond as fish structure in there in the middle of the pond. The pond filled up within 2 weeks. It was positioned perfectly in that wet weather creek whenever creek. Wet weather creek.
A few moments later.
With it being there, we got a massive rain and the pond just filled plumb full. Which is so awesome and so exciting for them to see that pond come to life almost immediately. With that being in the heart of Leavenworth, not only did it create quite a few logistical problems just getting our heavy equipment in there, but it was also creating some design considerations for all the houses around here. In the future plans, they're going to be adding some fish structure in there, grass is growing up, and I can only imagine it's going to be a huge asset to their property and a huge entertaining space for their specific property. Not only does it create a beautiful pond for the neighbors to look at, but it also creates a property that is just super unique. Nobody else is going to have that in that area. You might be wondering, hey, how did they build a pond right there? I can't build a pond right there. My permits don't allow that. Permits across the board vary so greatly from everybody. Every city, every state, every town has different permits, and that's something we'll get into in a different video to really deep dive into all that. If you have a dream of building a pond and lake, let us make it happen with you. We travel across the entire US, and you can find all the information about us on our website at bulletproofpondandlake.com.